Good evening, friends and colleagues. Welcome to the October 9, 2014 board meeting of the Prince George's County Board of Education. As always, before I begin, I'd like to ask everyone to turn off their wireless communication devices as they interfere with the microphone and taping of the board meeting. Let us please begin by asking Ms. Eubanks to please lead the board prayer and Pledge of Allegiance.
O God, we pray to administer that which is just in all educational policies, being ever mindful of your guidance. Steer us to action with love, wisdom, and understanding. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to
Thank you so much, Ms. Eubanks. Ms. Jackson, will you please call the roll?
Dr. Anderson? Mr. Barrows? Ms. Epps?
Here.
Ms. Eubanks?
present.
Ms. Higgins? Ms. Jacobs? Dr. Kaufman? Here. Ms. Mundy?
Happy to be here.
Mr. Valentine?
Here.
Ms. Waller? Ms. Williams?
Here.
Mr. Taylor? Ms. Boston? Dr. Eubanks?
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. Before we begin, first I will say thank you for the folks who've come today. We altered the calendar a little bit to respond both to, we used to alternate between a 7 p.m. start and an 11 a.m. start, and we knew we wanted to have more opportunities for the public to engage with us, and we wanted to alter the schedule a little bit. So this is our first 5 p.m. Board meeting of the year, and I see some public out here to join us with that, and so I'm very thrilled for that, and please give us feedback. Let us know how this type of schedule works and whether it continues to give you an opportunity to come out and join us. And with that, let's get started as I ask for a motion to adopt the October 9, 2014 board meeting agenda. It has been moved. May I have a second? It's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda. Is there any question? Ms. Epps?
Dr. Eubanks, I make a motion that we move public comment under 11.0 on non-agenda items right after 3.0 public comments on agenda items.
Thank you, Ms. Epps. May I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Thank you. We've moved non-agenda items up to item 3.0. May I now have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? We have adopted the agenda. Colleagues, may I please have a motion to approve the September 23rd, 2014 board meeting minutes?
Move.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? That motion carries. Now we'll now move on to our news break entitled Putting Technology to the Test.
We're telling them to just treat it like what they do in class, because we use a lot of computers with our daily instruction, and so we drag, drop, we look at different types of multimedia with many of our lessons, and so we're just telling them to act like it's a regular day in class, which it's not.
While Calverton Elementary's Jonna Levin acknowledges that taking tests is a time of high anxiety for just about every student, thanks to children's comfort level with computers, test day no longer ranks up there with going to the dentist. That's especially true for the Calverton students who piloted the game-changing park tests last year that were all administered online.
And I think the new technology is just a really good idea because it's, for some kids, you know, they don't really like to write. They're more of computer technology kids, and it really hurts my hands, as you can see. Yes. So I just think the technology is a better idea.
So with a host of scholastic math and reading inventories and the MSA replacing park tests now ready to be taken by and counted for all Prince George's students, the rush is on to get enough technology in place for everyone to electronically show what they know.
Do you feel like you have enough here at Calverton to meet the needs for this test?
On record, of course, we'd always take more. Yes. But yes, we do. We have a full lab, as you can see. We also have 2 carts of laptops and 2 carts of Chromebooks. So if we had to, we could use them all.
With wireless devices expected to be used by 35 to 40% of the upwards of 90,000 PGCPS students taking the park test this year, orders have been placed for 60,000 computing devices like laptops, Chromebooks, and iPads with keyboards, all using the Wi-Fi found in every building. Add in desktop computers, and there is increasing confidence that enough compatible hardware will be on hand for the testing dates in March.
It's a massive undertaking for our county and for our school, also for the students. Students have been so used to pencil and paper tasks that now they're going to be expected to manipulate a computer as easily as they have been with their journals and pencils. So we've been trying to get the students and the teachers in the technology, using it on a regular basis in their classrooms, taking them to the labs, allowing them to just really get a little bit more comfortable with the whole keyboard concept because students are very used to touching.
Wireless technology is big because it increases the amount of students that we're able to allow to access the park assessment. And not only that, all of the additional resources that are available online for like park preparation.
And far from purchasing computers for test use only, the Chromebooks, for instance, will be part of a device-neutral strategy that ensures their utility year-round.
Move to item is currently in my drive. We're going to move to Mr. Richardson, and we're going to push move. So now it's automatically in that file, and it goes straight to Mr. Richardson. We don't have to even print it out.
Chromebooks are fairly new to the county. We've been using iPads for a couple of years now, but Chromebooks, we're still kind of starting to roll them out. And the Chromebooks are a very simple, very easy to use, very inexpensive laptop that allows you to interact with all of the Google things.
At schools like Greenbelt Elementary, practice may not yet be making perfect, but by using Edmodo, a type of closed classroom platform, students are tackling sample questions and simultaneously providing their teachers with an opportunity for instant assessment of their progress.
The nice thing about using the computers is that I get instant feedback, so I can go back and talk to the student to discuss whatever strategies they may have used.
So while device numbers, wireless installations, and bandwidth are all rising, so too is the confidence among teachers and students that they're more than up to the challenge ahead. Park tests, bring them on.
Do taking tests using computers scare you, or is that something you're really comfortable with?
I'm really comfortable with that because I really like technology. And someday I might want to be a scientist in technology.
Do you think you're ready?
Mm-hmm.
Why so?
Because I took the MSA last year, and they say that the park test is a replacement for the MSA, and the MSA was pretty easy, so I think I can do the park test.
Is this class, do you feel confident that they are going to pass these park tests?
Absolutely. I think they'll be ready by March. Absolutely.
And once our students pass those assessments of readiness for college and careers, they'll be able to sample what opportunities await them at events like the Board of Education's recent College and Career Readiness Summit at Flowers High School. And as for the technology itself, once it passes the test, it'll be only the beginning.
Anything else that we you think we should know about technology? And
Just that there's a lot of it, and we have like big plans for it. I really want to get the kids onto Khan Academy so that they can, extend their learning on their own, and so that we can pretty much invade the kids' home life by having that education and all of the resources provided to them at home. But it's all about letting them know what's available.
For TV 96 and 38, this is Dave Zier.
Thank you, Dave, and my communications team for that remarkable report. We'll now move on to the report of the chair. Friends, don't believe the hype. It is another great day for Prince George's County Public Schools. When we really start investigating what's going on in our schools, what we see are great stories like the ones we just saw here about the technology in our schools, about the readiness of our students who enter our schools each day to be great and to achieve great things. In fact, let me share with you just a couple of them in my report that just tells the tip of the iceberg about the great work that we're doing in Prince George's County Public Schools and with the Prince George's County Board of Education. The Robert Goddard French Immersion School has been named an exemplary high-performing school in the National Blue Ribbon programs by the U.S. Department of Education. Yes, that deserves an applause, ladies and gentlemen. The Blue Ribbon Award is one of the nation's most prestigious, and the U.S. Secretary of Education announced 337 such schools across the country on September 30, with Robert Goddard as one of 6 public schools in Maryland and the only Prince George's County public school to receive the honor. Throughout the school's history, it has consistently been a high-performing school as measured by every measure, including test scores. Data reported in the 2013 Maryland Report Card indicates that the school met all goals for student achievement among all subgroups and has an acceptance rate of more than 95%, and 76.3% of all teachers have advanced professional certificates. However, much more than that, when you listen to the parents of students in Robert Goddard French Immersion, when you listen to the students, and folks like me cannot understand them because they speak French fluently at such a young age. But when you listen to them and you hear about the excitement and you visit the school and you see the electricity, there is no doubt that they have deserved that award and are deserving, like so many other schools in this great county, of recognition. A couple other things. In recognition of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, the Colors program at Northwestern High School is sponsoring ongoing opportunities for Prince George's County Public School students to display their original pink ribbon artwork. The Colors program is also sponsoring a Pink Out event on Saturday, October 11th at Paint Branch Elementary School and College Park Community Center, located at 5101 Pierce Avenue in College Park. Come on by and participate in health and fitness activities or enjoy healthy cooking demonstrations, performances, and the Pink Ribbon Art Show. For more information, please visit our website at www.pgcps.org or give us a buzz at 301-513-5300. A couple of other great things that have been going on with us. I'm going to start. There was a reference to the college and career fair that took place recently at Flowers High School. It was a tremendous event, and I want to give special kudos and acknowledgement to my friend and colleague and Vice Chair Carolyn Boston for championing that event. And give Ms. Boston an opportunity just to talk about how dynamic the event was and what we accomplished.
Thank you. On Saturday, September the 27th, the Prince George's County School System, in conjunction with the Board of Education, held our second annual College and Career Readiness Summit. It is estimated that 400-plus community members attended this very successful event, having the opportunity to visit with representatives from 26 colleges and universities, including Stanford University, Harvard University, Duke University, Morehouse, Spelman College, and Howard University. with a very informative financial aid panel discussion, 13 workshops, and 15 organizations participating. Our parents and students learned a great deal about college and career readiness, including paying for the cost of college and the many academic and career programs that we have right here in our school system designed to properly prepare them for life after high school. Special thanks to all of our partners, Chick-fil-A, Wegmans, and Costco's, and the members of our entire school staff who helped to plan and execute such a very successful event. We are focused and dedicated to ensuring that all of our students are college and career ready. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Boston. Finally, many of my colleagues and I recently had the opportunity to enhance the work we do as a board by attending the 2014 Maryland Association of Boards of Education Conference, and many of us also attended the 47th Annual Council of Urban Boards of Education Conference. There we attended specialized workshops geared around professional development designed to promote the essential tools to be effective policymakers and advocates for excellence and equity in public education. And really it gives us an opportunity to engage with colleagues around the country who face similar challenges and very different challenges than we do, to learn about dynamics. I mean, I went to a workshop on school nutrition. My friends in food and nutrition, I'm going to be the new thorn in your side now because I'm recommitted to just how important it is for us to focus on health and nutrition. And anyone who hasn't seen the documentary Fed Up, you got to see that about the health and nutrition of our country. So that's just the tip of the iceberg, and the things that we learn and help to engage in. And Dr. Wakawea, now, you know, I've always been your colleague. Now, you know, I'm going to be calling you every 5 minutes asking you about how much vegetables have been in my daughter's school lunch this week. Anyway, so those are the kinds of things we do. And I want to acknowledge first a couple of folks. I want to acknowledge my colleague Amber Waller, who is one of the organizers and planners of the Maryland Association of Boards of Education Conference. Thank you, Amber, for your great work. And I want to acknowledge one of my other colleagues. You know, one thing I've learned for certain over the past year is leadership ain't easy. Leadership on the Board of Education ain't easy. It's something that my colleague Virginia Jacobs knows well. But not only does she spend many years leading this board, but has taken key leadership at both the Maryland Association of Boards of Education and the Council of Urban Boards of Education. And in fact, this year was just appointed as the president-elect, as she was the president-elect, she's now the president of the Maryland Association of Board of Education Board of Directors. Now, folks, do me a favor. So Ms. Jacobs is actually here today, and she is just pressing on this report that she's working on in the back room. She's going to be out as soon as she can. But I want to acknowledge her and thank her loud enough so she could hear us in the back room. Let's give Ms. Jacobs a great round of applause for her leadership. All right, folks, and that concludes my chair's report. I may, when Ms. Jacobs comes up, there she is. There you go. Would you like to add to that, Ms. Epps? You may absolutely have a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Chairman Eubanks. If you, for the board, it will indulge me, I just want to also, many of us are, you know, getting out into our communities in a myriad of different ways, one of which was the college and career readiness. But we also want to continue to hear from parents and community members. And so, to that end, Saturday will be the first of hopefully what will become ongoing morning chats. And I don't know if anyone's ever heard me talk about where I eat. I love Panera. So, and we finally got one in Laurel, which is one of the areas that I represent. So for this Saturday, the 11th, and then next Saturday, the 18th, I will be hosting Chat and Choose, which is basically, you know, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You have to get it anyway. So before you go on for your morning errands, stop by, get a nice cup of something hot that you like, maybe a bowl of oatmeal, and let's talk about what's going on in District 1. So more information is available on the website, and I look forward to District 1 community members coming out. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Just another one of our efforts to make sure we continue to engage with our community. Ms. Jacobs, you want to say a word about this great new leadership responsibility you have with MABE and with CUBE, and I mentioned that in that CUBE, you're the director of some task force, and you won't slow down at all, will you?
I will say this to you, Mr. Chair. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to talk about the great work. I think the Council of Urban Boards of Education, as many of you know, is a national organization who focuses on the problems associated with urban districts. And so, yes, I have the enormous responsibility of doing the professional development side of things and how we can put together a toolkit, if you will, to help urban boards in the challenges that they face. And one of the responsibilities, we have a whole list of things that we have been approved to do, but one of those is to look at urban districts across the country and how funds are directed to the needs directed to students based on their needs. So that's going to be an enormous task, so I appreciate that. And with regard to the Maryland Association of Boards of Education, again, thank you. I take my role as a board member and serving locally at the state level and national level very seriously. And I think that we can do great work on behalf of our local district, but also districts across this country. And I think at the end of the day, when we focus our efforts on what the real issues are and remain committed to that, which I have been and will continue to be, then we'll see great things happening for kids across this country. And I think that's the most important thing that we should be focusing on. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And at that concludes my chair's report, and I will now yield the floor to Dr. Maxwell for the CEO's report.
Thank you, Dr. Eubanks. Good evening, everyone. In my report this evening, I will give you a preview of a few upcoming events as well, and some initiatives that I hope you will watch for and attend. But first, I'd like to welcome a new person you may meet in your interactions with our school district. Mr. Ray Brown has joined the team as our interim Chief Financial Officer. Mr. Brown brings extensive budget and financial experience serving roles in Howard County Public Schools and the Maryland State Department of Education, among other educational organizations. He will be leading us through the preparations for our fiscal year 16 budget, and I'm grateful to have him on board. Welcome, Mr. Brown. Speaking of new team members, you may have seen the news last week regarding the appointment of the design leader principals for the forthcoming international high schools. Carlos Beato and Allison Hanks Sloan have been appointed as design leader principals, and I'd also like to extend a welcome to them. Prior to joining Prince George's County Public Schools, Mr. Beato was the Chief Operating Officer of school operations at New Vision Charter School in the Bronx, New York. Ms. Hanks Sloan is a 10-year employee of the Prince George's County Public School System, serving most recently as the coordinating supervisor for ESOL. The international high schools are important additions to the portfolio of options we have available. The region and our school district are increasingly becoming the place to call home for immigrants from across our globe. And the data is clear. If we provide educational opportunities for English language learners now, no matter where they are from, we will reap the rewards as a school district and community in the future. The international high schools are schools of choice, and Mr. Beato and Ms. Hanks Sloan come on board at a critical time as the schools are built on a successful and innovative model that prepares them to open using a multi-phased approach. As design leader principals, Mr. Beato and Ms. Hanks Sloan will start with the design phase and move toward opening the schools in August of 2015. As we begin the intense work, we will continue to report on our progress, but many times how you start or the early stages of an endeavor like this one are just as important as how you finish. On November 13th, during the board meeting, a presentation will be given providing accurate data, facts, rationale, and a roadmap on how the schools will be designed. If you have an interest in the schools, this is an important meeting to attend so we can all start from the same base of knowledge. But prior to November 13th, next week has many important events. On Tuesday evening, members of the community can give their input on the development of my recommended fiscal year 2016 operating budget at 7 p.m. in this room. Wednesday brings the groundbreaking for the new Fairmont Heights High School at 10 a.m. And on Thursday, the dedication of for the Edward M. Felge Elementary School at 9:30 a.m. I look forward to seeing you at these events, and this concludes my report for the evening. Dr. Eubanks.
Thank you, Dr. Maxwell. All right, let's hear from the public. We have no registered speakers for comment on agenda items, so we'll go to public comment speakers on non-agenda items. We have 8 registered this evening. We will start off with, I got to read my spiel. Let me read my spiel. Nice people, you've been registered to speak in public comment forum with the Board of Education, and we will listen to your comments. We will not address your comments. All registered speakers will have 3 minutes to make their presentation. At the sound of the buzzer, speakers may complete that sentence only. Registered speakers may not relinquish any part of their speaking time to another registered or unregistered individuals. Speakers should not address individuals directly, or of course should refrain from using profanity or otherwise being mean. And please do, you'll have, hopefully you've given us what you have to say in writing, and if so, we'd ask you to leave a copy for us when you're at the podium. At that, let's get started. So our first speaker is Vicky Aravallo, 12th grade student from Parkdale High School.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Vicky Arevalo. I go to Parkdale High School. I believe that opening 2 schools for new immigrants will be a great benefit and opportunity for our community. I started going to Kenmore Middle School in Lanham around 5 years ago. My experience as an immigrant student has been terrible in some areas. The first few weeks I went to school, I didn't understand the system, the students, the teachers, or the bus transportation. I was lost and confused, and there was no support system to help me find my way. One teacher tried to help me, but he didn't speak Spanish. But he would always try to help me and spoke to me with a fellow student interpreter. He would also ask my fellow classmates to help me with my work, taking me to my other classes and learn English, but they would always refuse. I also suffered a lot from bullying from my fellow classmates. All this intimidated me to the point that I could not sleep or concentrate, and I didn't want to go back to school. I told to my parents about what I was suffering, and they weren't able to help me because they were not familiar with the school system. Little by little, I found my way around and started feeling comfortable. My student experience has improved a little attending Parkdale, but there is still more that can be done. Still struggle to get advice on my classes or my future college opportunities. In the end, all the experiences help me learn and appreciate helping others like me who will benefit from such schools. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and congratulations for being a senior at Parkdale High School. Great work. Our next speaker is Lionel Popole. And friends, please forgive me for butchering your names so violently.
Leonel Popo, you did it well. Good evening, everyone. I am Leonel Popo. I've been a resident of the county for the last 26 years. My wife is a product of Prince George's school system. She serves as a school counselor. I have 3 daughters in the school system as well. I come tonight with the best of intentions. I do work as a school counselor in the District of Columbia. Please do not hold that against me. About 3 weeks ago, I was given a presidential award. I went to the White House, and the award came as a result of giving children hope and direction. So I do work with the International Academy. We call it International Academy, international school in the District of Columbia. It's the first one in DC, DCPS, and they will start another one. They're saying they don't know when. I heard that you were starting an academy or 2 academies, 2 international schools. I came here to absolutely support that possibility. You will change lives. You will make a difference. These are wonderful, wonderful children. All they need is an opportunity. I was given that opportunity a long time ago. 29 years ago, I came here, didn't speak any English, didn't know anybody. I had $300 in my pocket. And I've gone from that instance to having dinner with the president. It's a wonderful event. You will touch lives, and you can absolutely change lives by supporting the creation of these 2 international schools. That's what I came here tonight for. So thank you so much. I will leave a couple of articles. One of them is about my children. They attest how I've given them hope. That's all they need, hope and opportunity. Please give it to them. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Margaret Duroquet, or Duroquet.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you. My name is Margaret Duroquet. I'm a resident of Prince George's County. I'm here to speak on behalf of the fact that Prince George's County Public School has decided to do the right thing with regards to how best to approach the international student from the high school perspective. I am the founder and president of an organization called Women Empowered to Achieve the Impossible, short for WITATI. I came here as an immigrant, so God knows how many years ago. And as they say, you can't minister where you haven't bled. It is very difficult to come here at such a young age. Literally, nobody cares, not because they don't care, but maybe they don't know about you. So at that point, it was very difficult to figure out, where do I go from here? But I'm a very persistent person. Discouragement is my source of strength. So I refuse to be stopped by nothing that nobody cares about or didn't know how. So I proceeded to defy the odds. But you see, the essence of going through something is so that you can make other people's lives better. So when I understood and heard that this is an opportunity that is coming to people that I may not even know, my children are American citizens, and they've done very well, they're doing well. But it's not about me, it's about those that come before us. So I went through school. I had a BA from Howard University and went on to law school and have my degree in Juris Doctorate degree from American University. The point of that is to say that the reason why we must care, because we are each other's keeper. We may not understand that the pain of another person is ours indirectly. It may not be direct, such as the rate of crime in our community. It could be because certain people weren't given the opportunity to go to school or to show them what they can do to do better. So I believe that given the foreign student, and they're somebody's children, for God's sake, that if they are given the encouragement, and especially from the school setting, because that high school is a crucial point, that if you catch the students at that point and show them a new way home, a better way to be, I'm telling you, it will affect our society, particularly in Prince George's County. We have a lot of international people. First of all, America is an international community. So the more and the sooner we begin to embrace one another, it will reduce nepotism, it will reduce they are there and we're here, and especially some of us that if we speak English, a lot of things can be amalgamated and a lot of the isms will disappear. So I'm here to say that if we can do this, it will change a lot of things, and the rate of dropout and those who have the opportunity to go to school. And when you come to say hello in Spanish, you say, oh, I speak English too, or whatever language that person speaks. So that's the bit of what I've come here to share, so that my experience will not be in vain. This will be a great thing, and it will help a lot of us to come together as one, because we are each other's keeper. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present before you.
Thank you so much for coming to present. Our next speaker is Antoinette Watson. Is Antoinette here? Antoinette Watson. Antoinette. Okay, our next speaker then would be Carlton Werman. Is Carlton Werman here this evening? Going once, going twice. Carlton, you back there? No, okay. Our next speaker is Jeff Tinio.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Tinio, and I'm a native of Prince George's County. I attended elementary school in Mount Rainier, middle school in Hyattsville, and graduated from Northwestern High School. When my parents immigrated to the United States in 1970, they quickly settled in Prince George's County and currently reside in Laurel. While they're both retired now, they owned and operated businesses in Prince George's County as well. I personally have lived the majority of my life in Prince George's and several cities, and I'm proud of my roots here. I'm one of the owners of Teltronic Towers, which is based in Capitol Heights, Prince George's County. My business partner, Robert Walker, also has his origins in the county as well. Teltronic Towers was incorporated in 1969 and continues to be a thriving business today. We work directly and indirectly with the local municipalities on many different aspects of communication projects on buildings and towers. Throughout the years, we have been instrumental in building the communication backbone of our civil servants, such as the police and fire departments. Chances are that if the police or fire department are responding to calls on the radios, the antennas and infrastructure on communication towers that we have either built or have worked on at some point or another. We are also contracted by all major wireless carriers to install and maintain their cellular sites: Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, to name a few. It's evident that these major companies have a vested interest in our county based on the amount of work that they employ us to do here. Their coverage is critical to the ever-demanding need for bandwidth of our citizens in Prince George's County and throughout the region. In addition, Teltronic Towers is part of only a small handful of companies that are certified and authorized to work on high-voltage towers for Pepco and BGE. Their towers not only serve as a means to deliver electricity to our homes and school, but also for their internal communication systems. Should a natural disaster or heavy storm cause an outage, we all depend on Pepco and BGE to quickly return power to our homes, schools, and businesses. This would not be possible if they can't communicate effectively. Teltronic Towers employs Prince George's County residents, and we enjoy working locally. Many of our employees' families have children who also attend school here. Ask any of our employees if they would have any hesitation of sending their children to schools with a communication tower on site, and their answer would be absolutely not. If anything, we feel safer for our children, knowing that in the event of emergency, we can contact them on their cell phones because there's coverage at their schools. Many parents give their children phones so that they can take to school so they can contact each other if needed. We implore you to continue to allow the construction of these vital communication towers here in Prince George's County. Not only are they a great source of income for the county itself, but also for local companies like Teltronic Towers that depend on projects such as these to flourish. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker this evening is Thurman Jones.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the school board, and also Dr. Maxwell and all the staff that make our school system a wonderful place to go to attend. I'm a product of C. Pleasant. I went to Greendale Elementary, Walker Mill, and came out of Plainsboro High School. I'm here to just share a couple words about things about the partnership with Milestone Communication and the school system. First of all, I'd like to thank the school board for partnering with Milestone Communication, and I also want to thank Milestone for coming into our community and bringing technology into Prince George's County. For the last 18 years, I have worked with 5th to 12th grade students to encourage them to get them excited about STEM careers in science, technology, engineering, and math, which we all know is STEM. We have found that students do not want you to talk about STEM career. They want to fix, break, or develop STEM products and compete against other students in competition. My mission has been, for the last 18 years, is to bring government, industry, college, and organizations to partner with patrons and our students to provide scholarships, mentoring, internships, and to be judges to our competitions. Milestone is the ideal partner that we need to help advance our students. I was a city councilman at the city of Sea Pleasant back in 1999, and I recall companies wanting to set up tiles and not really offering the city of Sea Pleasant anything in return. In my research and checking on Milestone website, Fairfax County has been doing this now for over a decade and have been having much success. And I trust that we will have the same success as we continue to partner with them. I see the partnership as a win-win for schools, students, and their family with Milestone Communication. Technology here to stay, and we need to be in the front seat with having companies not only to invest in the community, but in our children. We do not always want our students to be consumers, but we also want them to be inventors as well. There are some concerns about the partnership on health issues, which is, in my reading, is a little risk. This may encourage our students to do research on these issues, which may lead into careers in health or biomedical careers. Let's continue to take advantage of the partnership and let our students be a part of the new technology by asking Milestone Communication and other companies to come in to mentor and work in the community with our students. I want to applaud the school board in finding other ways to create additional funding for us, for our children, and I trust that Milestone Communication will continue to be a good corporate citizen in Prince George's County. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final registered speaker this evening is Jamila Ball.
Good evening. Hello. Yes, my name is Jamila Ball. I am a senior manager with Casa de Maryland's School and Community Engagement Department. However, what is compelling me to be here today is the fact that I'm a new parent in Prince George's County Public School System. And I feel that it's really important to let you know about how happy I am that these two new high schools are coming to the county and the kind of educational system that I would like to see my child a part of. As a new PGCPS parent, I'm very happy that my daughter will be in a school system that is providing a wider array of options for a wider population of students. I'm raising a young Afro-Latina that I want to have cross-cultural connections. I would be ecstatic to have her be a part of a new school that had a school within a school model, a school where with after-school activities and programming, she would be able to connect with other students that are coming into the country from other places and have opportunities to participate in a school culture that is exactly the kind of culture that we need to create to prepare our kids for college and career on a global scale. I'm also, as a person who has spoken very closely with a lot of Langley Park families, I've been in their homes. I've listened to a lot of community conversations and heart-wrenching stories from parents who, frankly, a lot of our moms, just like me, who are trying their best to do what they can with what they have to make sure that their kids have all the opportunities to be able to progress and to superarse, or to exceed or surpass what often is humble beginnings. Recently, one member of my staff told me of a parent that spoke with her and broke out crying that her child was on the nivel de tontos, the stupid level, and she didn't know what to do to help him. And her fears and concerns are something that we're hearing and that we have heard for very long. And the statistics are clear. The 8th grade reading proficiency for Langley Park students drops below 60%, and across the county, high school students who are arriving to the country with limited English proficiency are often facing very insurmountable obstacles, as you've heard from some of our previous speakers about, in order to become prepared for college and career. Also, as an attorney who has worked in education policy and who has worked with human rights issues, I am I applaud the county, frankly, for taking this innovative step to launch schools that have strong legal precedent and also a strong academic, evidence-based foundation that has been proven successful in other areas. I thank you for that. As one of the previous speakers said, these students are our students, it's our families. So the success of my child is intertwined with the success of every other child in the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, my friends. That does conclude our list of registered speakers for this evening. Thank you for coming out and having your voices heard. We welcome you back at future meetings to continue to tell us what you think, and we promise to listen. We'll move on now to the next item on the agenda. There's nothing on our legislative agenda this evening, so we're on to item 5.1, a discussion item on academic achievement and literacy, and I will now yield the floor to Dr. Maxwell for an introduction of this item.
So item 5.1, academic achievement, literacy, that discussion will be led by Dr. Monique Davis.
Thank you. Greetings, Dr. Eubanks, Mrs. Boston, and fellow board members. We cannot predict the future, but we can create it. This is the first line in the book, Great by Choice, that was introduced to us a year ago by our CEO. The data literacy story that we will share this evening provides a narrative of the future we are creating in every classroom, for every child, every day in Prince George's County. We have shared our one goal of outstanding academic achievement for all students, and it is our belief that we can create outstanding academic achievement by focusing on the interaction among the student, the teacher, and the content. Our data story's main idea says that we need to create an environment that focuses on literacy. In this global age, a person's and a nation's economic success depends on high reading and/or math ability. More specifically, a child's reading in second grade reliably predicts that child's academic achievement in 11th grade. We also know that as early as 5th grade, some of our students begin contemplating dropping out. Our data also shows that 9th grade is a pivotal year that impacts our graduation rate. Like any good story, we want you to connect with our characters, our students, employees, and community. We want you to root for and celebrate with the main character, over our 126,000 students. We want you to feel the range of emotions from celebratory to concerned to promising this evening. There is one element, however, that will be different this evening. While the stories we are accustomed to reading or listening to have a beginning, middle, and end, this data literacy story tonight does not have an ending, as we are creating a system that is choosing to be great by choice by teaching students to gather, evaluate, synthesize, comprehend, and report as they are reading, writing, speaking, listening, and using numeracy. We are currently preparing students for jobs that have not been created, technologies that have not been invented, and to solve problems that we do not even know exist. But what we do know is that the power of being literate has withstood the test of time. Thus, we believe reading proficiency is at the very heart of the democratic educational enterprise and is rightly called the new civil right. At this time, it is my honor to present to you Dr. David Reese and Dr. Gladys Whitehead to tell our data literacy story and talk about the future that we're creating here in Prince George's County.
Thank you. Greetings again, Dr. Eubanks, Ms. Boston, Dr. Maxwell, and school board members. I'm David Reese Jr., representing the new Office of Continuous Systemic...
Dr. Reese, is your mic on? Just check and make sure.
I'm not... Is that better? Yeah. Should I start over for you? Greetings again. I'm David Reese, representing the new Office of Continuous Systemic Improvement here in Prince George's County, along with my colleague from Curriculum and Instruction, Dr. Gladys Whitehead. We are here today in the first of a series of 3 data discussions about the state of academic achievement in Prince George's County. We will review data from our K through 12 instructional program. Dr. Whitehead.
By the end of our presentation, we hope that you will understand our Prince George's County Public Schools literacy data story. We will share with you our literacy definition, which also includes numeracy. Tonight, our lens will focus on literacy through reading. Once we have shared our data story, then we will look at our actions in 2014-2015 to respond to the findings in our story. Under the leadership of Dr. Maxwell, we have established a clear, consistent, and coherent focus to frame our work within the district. This graphic captures all of our processes and shows the relationship to our instructional core and literacy. The outer ring acknowledges the steps in our data-wise process, which helps us to build our data story. And now Dr. Reese will take you through our data story for tonight.
And before I move to that, I would like to focus us to the inner ring of the coherence framework, where we see the instructional core and literacy. There you also find a very powerful triangle that talks about the relationship between the teacher and the student in the presence of rigorous content. Now moving toward one of the outer rings of the coherence framework, you see the word stakeholders. And we know that all of our stakeholders in Prince George's County play a very critical role in ensuring that that triangle in the center is as strong as possible. Keeping that in mind, know that at the end of our presentation, Dr. Whitehead will present our next steps in light of this coherence framework and the collective efforts that it's going to take to keep progressing towards outstanding academic achievement for all students. And now, let's take a look at the data. I'll pause for a moment for us to take in that slide. We begin with our kindergarten readiness trend data, and the data is really clear. We notice that from the school year 2001-2002 through the most recent school year, 13-14, we have significantly narrowed the gap between the state of Maryland and Prince George's County regarding full school readiness for our kindergarten students. This means that more of our students are entering kindergarten ready to learn, and this is a point of celebration for Prince George's County. Moving up the trajectory to the second grade, we see a data slide that discusses our second grade spring SRI results. SRI stands for Scholastic Reading Inventory, and it is an assessment that we administer to students in the county between grades 2 and 10. It is a reading comprehension assessment, assessing the extent to which students understand grade level texts. We notice another point of progress. In May of 2014, 68.1% of our students were reading on grade level, whereas the preceding cohort was reading on grade level at 62.2%. Here, the efforts of our students, teachers, and principals has yielded progress that has made a difference. Next, we continue with more data from the Scholastic Reading Inventory, where we see a snapshot of on-grade level reading for school year 13-14 for grades 2 through 8. Again, we notice the 68% reading on grade level for second grade, and we also notice a fairly consistent percentage of our students reading on grade level across the 2nd through 8th grade continuum, with an average of about 68% of our students reading on grade level. 66% of our 8th graders are reading on grade level, and that takes us to the 9th grade portion of our data literacy story.
Can I, just a quick question, I'm sorry. Is that on or above grade level? On or above?
Yes. Thank you for the clarification. As we move to the 9th grade, again, we want to highlight progress that we've seen based on the efforts of our students, teachers, principals, and stakeholders, where our preliminary data tells us that 79.7% of our 9th graders were promoted to the 10th grade, which is an increase over the previous school year. The state will release our final numbers in January, hence the asterisk by school year 2014, and we await those final numbers. Again, I would like to take a pause for us to process this slide before I discuss it. We've heard a lot of mention today about college and career readiness, and this data allows us to compare the performance of our students on the Scholastic Reading Comprehension Inventory Assessment and the PSAT, which is a measure of college and career readiness. The PSAT is different from the SRI in that it has 3 sections: the critical reading, writing, and mathematics. The critical reading assessment assesses students' ability to do things like compare an author's point of view between multiple rigorous texts, make nuanced inferences, and have reading stamina. The writing assessment allows students to practice correcting errors and strengthening paragraphs and sentences. We see from this data that the better students perform on the SRI, the more likely they are to be college and career ready. Our next data point looks at our 8th grade SRI on grade level percentage by grad status. And here, we were interested in doing 2 things. Nationally, in the United States, there's a myth about students who enroll in career and technical education courses and those who choose to stay in traditional courses. And the myth is that the students in CTE courses are not as academically prepared as their peers who are in the standard course of study. This data tells us that based on the SRI, that myth is not true for the students in Prince George's County. At the same time, the most alarming data that we see is the percentage proficiency between our graduates, whether CTE or not, and our non-graduates. And now that we've done some work looking at the comparison between the Scholastic Reading Inventory and the PSAT, we want to take a look at a couple slides that give us our raw PSAT average scores for the graduating class of 2013. Again, we see that there's no statistical significance between graduates with CTE and all other graduates with their PSAT critical reading score, whereas with non-graduates, the discrepancy is more pronounced. The same trend exists with our PSAT writing data. Finally, we'll end by looking at data that connects to the Scholastic Achievement Test, the SAT, which many of our 11th graders and 12th graders take in Prince George's County. And here we see the average verbal score for graduates and non-graduates, and the average writing score. In her introduction, Dr. Davis mentioned that our story does not have an ending. And this is true because we have not yet written that ending. However, we do have very clear next steps that Dr. Whitehead will review for us next. Dr. Whitehead.
Our focus on literacy is built on our definition. Note that our definition is taken from the Common Core State Standards for Mathematics and English Language Arts. It encompasses reading, writing, speaking, listening, and using numeracy. As Dr. Davis and Dr. Reese mentioned, We want our students to be able to report, evaluate, gather, synthesize, and comprehend information and ideas. In addition, we want them to be able to conduct original research. We want them to be able to analyze and create print and non-print text in media forms, and as well as use numbers to process information and solve problems. Dr. Reese noted that our data is a call to action. How will we address our call to action? Our systemic goal is student achievement, outstanding student achievement for all. In addition, we want to prepare our students to be college and career ready. As you have seen in our story, students who are choosing a career certification are as well prepared as college students who choose all academic studies with some career emphasis through our career academies and specialty programs. Our data story began with our preparation for kindergarten and then moved to grade 2 reading. Research tells us that students who read on grade level by grade 2 have a greater success for retention in grade 9 and ultimately graduation by grade 12. Students that do not graduate usually read on the 4th or 5th grade reading level. To address our non-graduates, we are being proactive to put measures in place very early on. Last year, we instituted a blended learning credit recovery during the school day to assist students, as well as more options during summer school and evening school for credit recovery. For 2014-2015, we have partnered with our teacher union, PGCEA, to develop a plan of action that will soon be finalized. We have implemented monthly curriculum updates for our school teams and our administrators to build their capacity around literacy and looking through our curriculums. We have professional lead teacher training that will also focus on literacy and numeracy skills. We are also targeting training at the elementary level around balanced literacy. We will also support our parent workshops in targeted schools that will focus on literacy as well. In addition, we are continuing to refine our curriculum so that we have a literacy focus. We will continue our support of our 25 lowest performing elementary schools. Our budgets are being prioritized to focus on our strategic direction and our literacy focus. In addition, there is a system-wide focus to improve our use of classroom data to plan for acceleration and intervention through Harvard University's DataWise process. That brings us to the end of our story for tonight and to questions.
Thank you. We're ready to go straight to questions. Do you have anything? Okay, great. All right, the lines are buzzing, as they say. Colleagues, I'm going to remind us, as we talked about in executive session, that at some point we're going to truncate this conversation. Probably in the next few minutes we'll get a couple of questions in. We'll go to our other discussion item and a couple of other action items, and then come back to this. I'll keep the full list. All of our issues and questions and discussions will be held tonight, but just as a reminder, folks, just to make sure we get through the items on the agenda. But for now, we'll start with Ms. Mundy.
Thank you, Dr. Eubanks. Hello, how are you? Thank you for your presentation. You gave some really great information tonight, and I just had a couple questions about the graphs that were provided. So I want to just make sure I understood. So the SRI tests are giving up to the 10th grade, so it's 2 through 10, or no? Okay. Yes. And so in the chart that was provided where they gave the on-grade level breakdown, I saw it stopped at 8. In the 9th grade, literacy measure was promotional rates, and the 10th grade was PSAT. So my question is, how are those two grades doing with respect to SRI, and why are those measures promotional rate and PSAT used for those two grades? I'm just trying to understand, why those were used.
Well, first, we wanted to focus on the pivotal grades where we see that we are losing our students. And of course, ninth grade retention is a national problem. And so that's why you see us focusing on what's happening at ninth grade. And of course, things don't begin at ninth grade, they begin prior to ninth grade. So we've been working in the district in a project to look at what's happening in eighth grade before our students transition. This summer we built in a special program to do our recovery with our eighth grade students before they moved on to ninth grade. We looked at things like focusing on critical reading and writing skills, because we know that as they move from elementary to middle school to high school, those are the reading skills that they need. And at the 9th and 10th grade level, then we are continuing to monitoring that they are staying on grade level so that we can put in interventions. We have an early warning system that's used by middle and high school principals that's based on our SRI data. So if any student drops for any reason, then we can put a plan in place for them.
Just one other question, just to follow up. I'm sorry, thank you, Dr. Whitehead. So do you know or have an indication of what that SRI data look like with respect to 9th and 10th grade?
We don't have the numbers with us tonight, but we can get you those numbers.
Okay, thank you.
All set? Okay. We have in the queue Ms. Williams, Dr. Anderson, Ms. Epps, Ms. Boston, Dr. Kaufman, and myself. We'll get through a couple more before we suspend them, but everyone who's on this list, when we come back around, we'll stay with that list. Ms. Williams.
Thank you so much for the informative presentation. This is very important to me and the committee that has come together for academic achievement, so this is right on time for us. I just have a few questions, and I'm just going to run through the questions quickly so that we can move it along. The first question is, you talked about partnerships with the union and the parents. Are you looking at partnerships with our community resources like the libraries, the museums, and things like that when you're talking about literacy and trying to give students opportunities to, to read as often as possible? That's my first question. What are the other partnerships that you're looking at? The second question is about the data set that you looked at. I know that you look at second grades in the school year for 2012-2013 and again in 2013 and 14, but are you following that cohort along? When you showed the data on the slide that had 2nd through 8th, there appeared to be a jump in the SRI count. So is that the cohort? Are you following that cohort along, like school year 13-14 for that 3rd grade group? They were the 2nd grade group in 2012 and 13. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is the 3rd grade group that scored at 64%, whereas
Right.
the preceding year they're at 62.2%.
Correct. So there is a jump as they're moving along in their SRI data. I think that's a good thing. There was one question for a definition. I wasn't sure. What does balanced literacy or balanced literacy?
Okay.
Effectively implementing balanced literacy. What is that?
Balanced literacy is a training program that we use to show our teachers how to teach reading. So we bring them in to show them strategies, how do they work with struggling readers, how do they group students to approach reading.
So you're looking at sort of balancing the classroom. Is that where that word is being
No,
used?
it's actually balancing the approach to instruction. So in other words, you don't want all students to be following the same path if they can't continue with that. So you want to be able to differentiate so that you are still building reading skills for your students no matter what level they are.
Right, so for example, one benefit of the SRI, Scholastic Reading Inventory, is that it tells us what the exact Lexile level is for a student. So when a teacher moves students to small group instruction at the little circular table shaped like the U, they should differentiate the text based off of the student's reading level so that they get the appropriate level of instruction so that they can have the correct amount of challenge in academic tests.
Okay. So you're teaching at that, you're going to that child's level and teaching them so that they're all achieving a higher mark. May not be the same thing, but they're all are doing better. I'm going to pause there and wait for the second round if we have some time.
We will. Thank you. Why don't we have, we'll go at least one or two more before we move on. So Dr. Anderson.
Good evening. I certainly want to commend you on a much-needed program in the county. And I am pleased to hear that you plan to have workshops for parents and on literacy, and extremely pleased that you've added numeracy to the literacy. But I want to know what can be done to engage the community in this, in enhancing literacy in our schools. You know, I always ask my grandkids, what book are you reading now? And do we have an expectation for how many books, or at least throw that out, how many books a child ought to be able to read in a year's time? Can we get the community talking and get all of us promoting or supporting this literacy program so there's a clear understanding that the expectation is for our children to be literate, and the how-to, and outside of school, and especially during the summer?
Oh, absolutely. One of the questions earlier was about our partners. We partner extensively with the Prince George's County Public Library System. They support us during the summer with the reading program. We don't limit the number of books that students can read. We do have an approved book list, but the sky is the limit. We do have a campaign in our schools, you know, read for 25. So at least we give them a target, but they can go well above and beyond. We partner with our universities for grant programs, for training programs, to help our teachers, and to supplement what we're doing within the curriculum. So our list is extensive. We partner with museums. We have a lovely partnership with the African American Museum here in Prince George's County, and we also partner with the museum. So trying to enrich the horizons of our students and what they are exposed to.
Just one more, please. Do you plan to put a name on this that the community can talk about? Like we're enhancing literacy in Prince George's County schools. We're doing whatever in the schools, so we can all put our teeth in it.
That's a great suggestion.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, it's...
So is that a yes?
Yeah. And I think you'll see in the definition we highlighted the Reg C. So we've been referring to the definition as Reg C because that sort of encompasses everything that we want our children to achieve. So Reg C.
That's not the name you're telling parents, right?
Oh, no. We'll come up with something much more
snazzier,
parent-friendly.
Okay,
yes.
all right. You all set, Dr. Anderson? All right, Ms. Epps?
Thank you. I totally didn't understand your instructions.
But we're rolling along so well. I'm just going to keep
so.
rolling with it.
Can you elaborate on, and again, thank you so much, both of you, for such a wonderful and engaging presentation. You make quite the duo there. So I was wondering if you could elaborate on the plan of action with PGCEA in terms of what that entails.
Well, we've had several wonderful opportunities to partner with our teachers union. We started with our June 16th, Common Core training. So this summer, we formed a Common Core task force, really around Maryland College and Career Ready Standards, which is our official name. And so we had them to brainstorm some things that we could do to continue promoting the standards within the district, to get the ideas of our teachers. We even partnered with our own labor relations department, and then we brought members from every department within the system. So we put together action items that we thought would help us to move forward. And so that's the plan that we are finalizing now that will be presented to the system at a later date.
Like I said, it sounds very exciting. The other thing that piqued my interest right at the tail end of the presentation was the mention of the acceleration and intervention through the Harvard University DataWise process. Could you elaborate on that?
Absolutely, I'm happy to do it. Before joining Prince George's County, I attended Harvard and worked with the Harvard DataWise project. And the DataWise work has existed in Prince George's County for a number of years. Back since 2005, people were interested in learning to use this inquiry process to drive improvement with schools and with instruction. So the short story is, I stopped being a consultant, working with a small subset of schools in the county, and was asked to join the county to help create the new Office of Systemic Continuous Improvement and use the DataWise process throughout the entire system.
That's awesome. One more quick question, at least for this round. As you discuss the, I want to piggyback on my colleague's question about the balanced literacy. I guess it's a strategy, if we would call it, a strategy or a technique. So is there also an opportunity, or do these strategies also allow for peer-to-peer interaction within, through the lessons?
Oh, absolutely. One of the strategies that we have been promoting with our teachers is to be the facilitator in the classroom as opposed to the constant lecturer in the classroom. We worked intensely with the Institute for Learning to learn how to begin to facilitate and engage our students in the learning. So one of the reasons you'll see a lot of group work, not only in the primary grades, but in the other grades as well, is for the peers to have an interaction. If you ever get a chance to go to a 9th grade English classroom, you may see them talking about the novel To Kill a Mockingbird. And one of the tenets of that lesson is that they have to share with each other their opinions from the novel.
All right, we were just sitting there wondering who was, but all right. Thank you. What I'm going to do, we have Boston Kaufman, myself, Ms. Waller. We all really want to continue this conversation. We're going to stop now and move on to the next item. Thank you for your patience. We're going to make sure we get back to all of this. So we at least temporary thank you. Should we want to clap now and again later? Let's clap now and again later. All right. And when you come back up, we're going to clap again for you. Okay. Thanks for your patience. Again, we'll get back to that, colleagues. I know I have a bunch of pressing questions I want to ask too. So we will move on to item 5.2, and I'll yield the floor to Dr. Maxwell for an introduction of discussion item 5.2, the Peer Assistance and Review Program.
Bill Ryan is going to lead this discussion. Go, Bill.
Thank you, Dr. Maxwell. Good evening, Dr. Eubanks, board members, Dr. Maxwell, staff, and guests. I'm Bill Ryan, the Employee Performance and Evaluation Officer. And tonight, I would like to provide you with an overview of our new Peer Assistance and Review Program. This program is a collaborative effort between Prince George's County Public Schools and Prince George's County Educators Association. Ken Haynes, our current PGCEA president, and the Teachers Union have been a strong advocate for this program, and without our visionary CEO, Dr. Maxwell, and you, the incredible visionary Board of Education, this program has become a reality and will allow us to be great by choice. Tonight, we will provide you with an overview of our peer assistance and review program and show how this program will help to ensure that we have a high-performing workforce. In addition, we will introduce you to our wonderful, fantastic, fabulous group of consulting teachers who are a critical part of the PAR program. Presenting with me tonight are Mr. Ken Haynes, PGCEA President, and Mr. Phil Catania, Peer Assistance and Review Instructional Supervisor. Ken will now provide you with a brief historical perspective on peer assistance and review programs.
Good evening. Over the last decade or so, it's been my privilege to work with the presidents of about a half dozen locals across the country, and I'm having technical glitches here. Just in Toledo, Columbus, Minneapolis, Poway, Rochester, Hillsborough, all members of something called the Teacher Union Reform Network, and just a few of the 36 or so locals across the country that have instituted successful peer assistance and review programs. A Harvard study recently asked the question, is PAR cost effective? And based on improvement in retention of those teachers and in student growth, it was a resounding yes. PAR came into existence about 4 decades ago from teachers being increasingly frustrated with the sink or swim model of professional induction. There's always the threat in a sink or swim model that somebody's going to drown. Sink or swim is not even an appropriate method for teaching swimming, but we've been using it on teachers for any number of decades. Would any of us send our children to a doctor who was learning medicine by the method of trial and error, which is what we've been subjecting children to for numerous decades? Teachers graduating from college, walking in, trying, failing, sometimes boldly, and sometimes not so boldly, but we have to change that model entirely. Would anyone in this room step on an airplane with Pilots for America in the cockpit, flying a plane after 2 weeks of training in the summer? My children, our children, are too important for that model either. Teaching is difficult work. We know from the work of Dr. Richard Anderson that teachers are chased from the profession by feelings of isolation and lack of support. PAR brings that isolation to an end for inductees to the profession. It also creates some verticality for the teacher leadership for a profession that has been historically very flat for those not interested in following the path toward administration. So, on behalf of PGCEA, permit me to express our gratitude to the CEO and to the Board of Education for allowing teachers in Prince George's County to take these first steps toward becoming a fully self-monitoring profession on the scale with medicine and law. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. What is peer assistance and review? In effect, peer assistance and review are expert teachers, some that you see here this evening, that really spend time providing consistent support through peer coaching and peer observation to our novice teachers, as well as teachers that are tenured, that are struggling in our buildings. What are the goals? We want to, of course, ensure that we have high standards of professional practice for our teachers, which of course leads to improved student achievement, increases job satisfaction when you're being supported, your students are doing well, ensures that our teachers stay in Prince George's County, a high retention rate, provides a career pathway. The CT is position, consulting teacher position, is a pathway for our highly effective educators. It strengthens our accountability in the evaluation process. It deepens due process as part of evaluation, and it increases the support that is needed for our ineffective teachers. The 3 major components of PAR are an advisory board that manages and has created the program that you were sharing with you today, a PAR panel, which is comprised of principals and teachers that make joint recommendations regarding teacher support, tenure, and personnel decisions. The CTs are consulting teachers who provide that differentiated and intense support for our novice teachers, and an alternative evaluation procedures that heavily considers the reports of both our administrators and our consulting teachers that are working daily with the teachers in the classroom. The advisory board has initially drafted the PAR process and guidelines. We've given you those guidelines. They were helpful in the hiring of all consulting teachers. They ensure the PAR panel decisions do not constitute any violations to state, local, county policies or guidelines, and they coordinate the professional learning that our CTs are continuously going through, our consulting teachers are going through. Who makes up the advisory board? Of course, our unions are strongly represented: Human Resources, Office of Talent Development, General Counsel, other area office, C&I, and building level staff. Our PAR panel, what are their responsibilities? Again, it's a panel made up of teachers and administrators, principals. They attend monthly PAR panel meetings to participate in discussions related to who we're going to have in the PAR program, whether or not we're going to continue to keep those individuals in the PAR program, whether we're extending tenure, and they make recommendations even regarding probationary status to the CEO and continuing with that probationary status or not. They do presentations and reports and hear those reports from consulting teachers. And we also have an appeal process where teachers that are part of the process or principals have an opportunity to appeal decisions that are made back to that PAR panel regarding decisions that may have been made. They will advise consulting teachers about clients on their caseload. They will closely review consulting teacher reports on struggling clients. As I mentioned, they will hear review concerns, and they will help and support in the evaluation of our consulting teachers at the end of the year. The PAR membership currently is a PGCEA designee, as a co-chair. I serve as the other co-chair. There are 4 building principals this year that were selected by the union and approved by Dr. Maxwell. There are 4 building-based teachers that were selected by PGCEA and again given to Dr. Maxwell for approval. Building-based staff will receive a stipend as part of the program for the additional work that is required of being part of that panel, and the panel membership will be representative of the district diversity, and we have ensured that it does. Consulting teachers. I will now turn over this part of the presentation to Phil Catania. He is the PAR instructional supervisor working directly with our consulting teachers. Phil.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan, and good evening, Dr. Eubanks, board members, Dr. Maxwell. July 30th, our consulting teachers began. They were 11-month employees. And I want you to think about this for a minute. Each one is going to manage a caseload of approximately 15 teachers. If you do the math with that, that's 225 client teachers that they conceivably could be working with. If each of those teachers that they're working with touches an average of 30 students, that's 6,750 students that could be positively impacted by these people sitting right here. That's what's so exciting about this program. They will conduct at least 3, and I say at least, and I want that in bold because they're going to conduct more than 3 site visits per quarter. I can assure you that, to help these teachers. They're going to conduct at least 2 formal observations this year. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Sorry? Per year, per teacher. That's in addition to what the principal does in their building as well. It's a separate caseload data stream. They're going to complete detailed reports on those clients. We'll talk a little bit about that in the next slide. And we're hopefully that this group here will train subsequent cohorts as they come into the system. They will train the new consulting teachers coming in. Our levels of support will be phased in. We're at the first year of hopefully a 1 to 3 year phase, and then we'll go on from there. This first cohort will be 5 years. Could you go back one? This first cohort has committed to a 5-year commitment to this program. think that says a lot about their commitment to this program. They're not planning on coming here for a year and moving on to something else. They're going to go for 5 years to make a difference and an impact on this program. The next cohort, starting next year, who comes in, they'll serve for 3 years, and then they will be allowed to go back to a leadership position in a school or a classroom teacher, a teacher leadership position in their school. We have 15 consulting teachers, and I would like to take this moment right now to have them stand as I call you. I want to introduce them by name and the school from which they are coming, to give you board members a kind of a feel for how they are scattered throughout the county. They're my women in black, basically, today. I love them. They're a great group. They're the best of the best. And if they stay standing, and I call them, Keisha Ward came from Hillcrest Heights Elementary. Renee Jackson came from Rosaryville Elementary. Julie Huey, Barack Obama Elementary. Angela Addison Void, Oxon Hill Middle. Makia Olive Avery, Northwestern High School. Wendy Brown, Valley View Elementary. Jennifer Lomascola, Walker Mill Middle School. Kishana Poteet Brown, Henry Wise High School. Tawana Lane, Friendly High School. Rowena Shern, Adelphi Elementary. Gina Bird Phelps, William Wirt Middle School. Ivory Rozier, Seabrook Elementary. Lachelle Ferguson, Kenmore Middle. And we have 2 who are not here tonight, could not make it. LaTanya Wright, James Madison Middle. And Amanda Willett from Charles Carroll Middle School. These members of the board are our 15 consulting teachers. As we said, they're going to work with struggling non-tenured teachers, those teachers that are having some need. They're going to consult, collaborate with, and coach, and they're going to observe them, but they're going to be there to assist them, to support them, and make them proficient. The clients are selected December, January. I want you to know that we've done such a good job in the program that we're going to select our clients beginning October 21st, and the clients will start receiving support from these fine folks November 12th. That's this year. Of course, we started late. They've been in a training session for 3 months or 2 months. They'll be training for another month, and I'll talk about that next slide. Phase 2, years to be determined. We hope to go from first year struggling teachers to second year struggling non-tenured, and hopefully down the road helping all teachers who need the support. So we have that phased out, and I'm sure your generosity will continue, and we're going to make this program grow. And our last September, they actually started August, right after July 31st, they began an intensive training program. They are being trained in Charlotte Danielson's work framework for teaching as it becomes certified. They're becoming proficient and very well versed in Teachscape, in DataWise training, in coaching training, which will be ongoing throughout the year. We're not going to stop our training. They've shadowed mentors from other districts. They've shadowed, or CTs from other districts, consulting teachers, and they've shadowed the mentors from the Office of Talent Development. There's been a really concerted, great effort from resources in our county as well as out to train them for the very strenuous, hard work that they're going to face real soon. The training continues. The principals will be in-serviced on PAR on October 16th by Mr. Ryan and me. The clients will be identified, principals will be notified. We will continue to communicate the system, the program system-wide, and the consulting teachers, as I said, will begin service to clients November 12th. So with that, if there are any questions, I'll give it back to Mr. Ryan.
I do want to mention that we've had a very strong relationship with Doug's office, Doug Anthony, the Office of Talent Development. because as teachers are onboarded and new teachers come, there's a very tight relationship between our consulting teachers and our mentor teachers, which are also out supporting all of our new teachers as they enter into the county. But at this time, we will open it up for any questions that you may have.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. We'll go on with questions. I don't want my literacy folks to think that we like PAR better. We won't be truncating the PAR discussion today, primarily because we have an action item that immediately follows it. So we'll continue this discussion, and like the rest of them, as they say, the phones are lighting up. I have Ms. Jacobs, myself, Dr. Kaufman, Ms. Mundy, Ms. Waller, and I'll write down the rest when I get to them. Ms. Jacobs.
Thank you, Dr. Eubanks. Thank you for the presentation. This is actually a really big deal. It really is.
Yes,
I mean, because it's been work it is. I had the opportunity to attend one of those TURN conferences with Mr. Haynes, and this is the exact work that you have teachers working together to get across the country. My question is, so I saw a state presentation, relative to teacher evaluations, and they talked a lot about how the principal would sit down with the teacher and go over the SLOs, the student learning objectives, to come up with how the evaluation process would work. So my question, I wasn't sure if that was a statewide process that was required, or the local districts can come up with their own process. And so my question is, how more specifically does this affect, what's the process for a teacher's evaluation in light of what will be coming down the pike 2 years from now when student achievement will count towards the evaluation, if that makes sense?
This really doesn't change the evaluation process. The process that's required is state-required process, so the principal still continues with the process of the evaluation. Where the CTs come in is to support the teachers where there's a particular need, particularly around professional practice, the Danielson, but they will also support teachers with their SLOs and the measurement of those, the student achievement that's going on in their classroom. So they'll be supporting, but it's not, the CTs and the PAR program is not part of the evaluation process.
So let me just real quick, just from the perspective then of what a board would have to do in terms of a review. So let's say you're using this process, the peer review, and a teacher has sat down with his or her principal, they've come up with the SLOs that apply to the students in their building, and they're struggling. And throughout the process, your team is designed to help them with their practice. If a teacher were in an appeal process of their evaluation, would that be evidence used in presenting to the board that this is what this particular teacher went through to hone their practice or to meet their SLO requirements? Or would it be completely separate and have nothing to do with it? Because I could see someone saying,
there will be support for those teachers that are in the PAR program that will be provided that would help a teacher as part of their evaluation process. But the principal is still required to have that documentation of the supports they've provided and the things that are going on within the building. So there'll be separate processes, and if they're in the PAR program, and particularly non-tenured this first year, and there's some decisions that might be made regarding non-renewal as an example of a teacher, the PAR panel will look at all of the information from the principal as well as what the client or what the CTs are saying and make recommendations to Dr. Maxwell's representative, labor relations, that will then say, here's all the documentation that's lined up and indicates that this person should continue and stay in the PAR program or maybe even be non-renewed from us as a system.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I'm up next. I actually want to do a quick follow-up before I go that. But so to be clear, in one of your slides, you talk about the fact that the evaluation procedures will heavily consider equally reports from administrators and consulting teachers. So the consulting teachers could indeed, in this evaluation process, through the observation protocols.
The evaluation process for the CTs themselves. So the CTs that are working with the clients will have to be evaluated. And the PAR panel will help provide some information to actually Phil, who will be coming up with that final evaluation. So when we talk about evaluation, it's pertaining to the consulting teacher's evaluation.
Wait a minute. Okay, slide 5, the last bullet on slide 5. So make sure I'm clear on this.
I'd have to.
Nope, next one. Alternative evaluation procedures that heavily consider equally the reports of administrators and consulting teachers. That doesn't sound like the consulting teachers evaluation.
Right. No, that one pertains to when the panel sits down at the end of the process.
That's my point, right.
They will take into consideration the
Right.
continuation in the program or continue
Or
work in the system. Whatever the
whatever the action.
yes,
Right,
correct.
right.
Yes, you are
Right,
correct.
so there is, okay.
Yeah.
Right. All right. That was part of my, so that was, all right. So the other thing I'll say, I actually don't have any other questions. I didn't have any real ones other than to clarify that. But just to, I'm not going to hide my excitement and pride in this. In my day job at the National Education Association as Director of Teacher Quality, I've studied and worked on issues around what it means for teachers to take control of their profession, to be responsible for the quality of their colleagues, and peer assistance and review, and not only peer assistance and review generally, but the model that you've created here is one that is going to serve the employees and the students of Prince George's County very well. And I want to just really commend my colleagues in Prince George's County Education Association, Ken and Lou. I know from a national perspective, you know, this takes strong leadership. This takes bold leadership. These types of things aren't popular in a whole lot of places. And the idea of the association really stepping up and taking the lead on something like this is just tremendously important, and it's tremendously important to us as educators and to the work that we're doing for students. I want to particularly commend my colleagues in Prince George's County Education Association for your bold leadership in moving this program forward. All right, Dr. Kaufman.
Yes, thank you. And I just wanted to, my colleagues stole a little bit of my thunder because I just am.
I usually don't put myself first, but
Yeah.
that's the reason.
I'm just really giddy with excitement about this, I have to say. I mean, I've been on the board for about a year, and we've had seen a lot of programs and initiatives. And to me, this is really much more than a program or an initiative. You know, we've heard for decades that teachers wouldn't want to evaluate their colleagues because they would be afraid of, evaluating someone who's at their level and what kind of pushback they might get, or are uncomfortable with that. And we've had these debates, and I, work on a lot of national education issues about, on one hand, some arguing that, we have to get bad teachers out of the profession and we have to crack down, and others, saying, there's too much punitive measures being taken and teachers are being scared away from the profession. And here we have a solution, an option, which is not easy to implement, but, as my colleagues and as all of you have said very well, can be extremely effective. And, to me, I just wanted to take a moment to salute the 15 consulting teachers who are going to be part of this, because I hope you all realize what you've signed up for, because this is not just a program. It's really you're becoming part of a movement that was started in just across the border in Montgomery County, but also other districts, a few other districts around the country that have been pioneers, and you all are joining as pioneers here in Prince George's. And I expect that what you'll find is that if you thought your work in the classroom was difficult, you'll find this at least as challenging, but also equally rewarding, because you're having an impact. While you're not working directly with children as you were before, you're having a ripple effect across the county that can really change many, many more lives. And so I just think it's wonderful that you all have signed up for this, and wish you the best of luck. I know it's going to be a lot of hard work, but I don't want to put too much of a burden on you, but we are really counting on you all, to do this work, because we want Prince George's County to be a model nationally of what can be done when teachers really do take ownership over the profession, and to demonstrate that teaching can be a profession on par with many other careers that we think of as professionals. So thank you so much for taking this on, and best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we all love this, right? But come on, tough questions, board. Tough questions. Ms. Mundy, what you got?
Thank you. Most of the questions that I actually had were already answered by my colleagues, and Dr. Kaufman stole my thunder by first saying thank you and kudos to the first cohort of CTs that we have. I look forward to all of the major work that you're going to be doing in this endeavor. I did have another couple questions. The first one, and this is going to the panel, about how are CTs selected? Is it a selection process? Are there applications? I know we've had some past Teachers of the Year. We have a Teacher of the Year process. Is that automatic? Albert Lewis, I'm giving him a shout out. He's a great Teacher of the Year. Ms. Shelton is right now within one of the schools in District 7, great Teacher of the Year. And so I'm just curious about how that process fits into this when we're talking about superstar teachers or leader teachers.
For this year, because of the timing and budget being approved and having to hire, we held regular interviews, but there's a performance task where they had to actually watch someone teach and tell us what they thought in reference to FF, the Framework for Teaching. So it was a very intense process for the interview, and we had all of the advisory board participate in that, so the union was at the table making those decisions with us as we went through. Yes, we wanted them there, and they kind of wondered why the union was there. But the issue moving forward, and Ken has been, and the union has been very much adamant about that when we start the process, as we look to next year, if more positions are funded out of your generosity, as Ken mentioned or Phil mentioned, that we would have actual interviews. We'd go out into the building, not interviews, but go out and observe and have the PAR advisory go out and see them in the classroom, because I think when we've talked to other districts, that's been very powerful when they've gone out into the classrooms to see them in action as part of that interview process. And then we would still have the standard panel interview, but that would be one more element that we would add to it.
I'm just going to add on there that I've looked at a number of the hiring processes, and Hillsborough in Florida is the one that I'm trying to get us to go to. They've got a really great hiring practice down there. And that's part of the reason I'm trying to get the CTs down to Hillsborough in January to see the Hillsborough model.
Okay, and just one other question. And so I just want to make sure I'm clear. So the CTs will not also be doing double duty in the classrooms?
No, they are not school-based.
Okay, I didn't think.
Yes,
I think that's an extensive caseload of 15
they
teachers
are at
in addition
Claggett,
to.
but we hope they will be in the buildings,
Okay.
but not teaching.
I just wanted to be clear. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Come on, teachers, you could do that. All right, Ms. Waller.
Thank you. I think that this is a wonderful opportunity that we have here in Prince George's County. And along those lines, I know that I look forward to this part of our system helping us to retain our teachers. However, as I acknowledge all the wonderful teachers that stood, the consultant teachers, I noticed the lack of any males. And certainly I have a concern because this is a subject area that we've spoken about. The board, we have a task force or whatever on retaining our males. And I firmly believe that if everyone is selected, that's fine. But I think this year and going forth now that we do need to see some male representation. I think that there's a thought process that goes into how our male teachers are observed. We want to keep them in the system, and they respect the females. There's no problem with that, but I feel very strongly that I need to see some male leadership. Thank you.
We would agree 100%, and I think when we do our human resources presentation, there will be some good news about the male hiring. But when we interviewed one male of all of the applicants for these 15 positions. And we did hire that individual. That individual is now an assistant principal because it interviewed simultaneously to that as well. So we agree, and we hope to, as we include more teachers into the program, that we will increase our male participation.
So you've just said something that just opened up a can of worms for me also. If only one male applied, how did they know about it? How was it advertised? I mean, you know, maybe it was, you know, it was a short, it was short, but it concerns me that, you know, you said you only had one male applicant, and perhaps if we need to speak about it, you know, offline, but that concerns me. I'm concerned about that because I hear male teachers that we've lost them to other school systems. They're frustrated, and we need equal representation. Thank you.
Sure. We can talk about it offline, but I will say that it was advertised for several weeks, the same procedures that we do with any position. It was advertised that way, and I know we had some information went out through PGCEA regarding the announcement as well. So we will look at ways that we can encourage more males to participate in the program.
Perhaps they were afraid of the hard work. I don't know. You know how us ladies are.
I'm sorry, were you done? I was tired of that hard work you were just talking about. That.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Us ladies work so hard, you know.
Ms. Boston.
I want to join my colleagues in saying how awesome this is. This is something that I think it's been needed for a while, and I'm just so pleased that we're putting this together and being able to have the observations and the training for our staff teachers. One of the questions that I have was, will the observation also be done for or be extended to some of our long-term subs? Because we have subs that are here for a long time in some of our core classes, our core subjects. So will some of that training or observation be extended to them as well?
No, they will not be part of the PAR program as far as supports.
They're not Unit 1.
Okay. Okay. Also, what about our special education teachers?
Yes, they are part of the Unit 1, and they, if having difficulty and struggling, will be part of the program as well.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Williams.
Thank you. I'm very excited about this program coming on board. I can't imagine being a teacher in front of students of any age. So to have that support is going to be great. I think we're really moving in the right direction for making our schools great by choice. So, but my question really is, I was happy to hear that at least 2 of the representatives from the CT group came from District 9. How are the teachers or the schools and the locations that they're serving, how is that chosen? Or is it just random? Or are they chosen, like if you work in District 9, you're going to, continue to work with teachers in schools in that district? How is that chosen and distributed?
As far as chosen, these individuals applied, so that they kind of cover a broad area. When we go to assign clients to the CTs, we will do it based on, first priority will be content. Based on the CTs, we have different content knowledge, so there are English teachers, there are math teachers, and K-12. And so as we get clients, we'll assign them based on content. If we can cluster some content in one particular area so that the consulting teachers aren't traveling all over the county, we will do that. But most of the districts we've talked to said you really can't cluster them because it's really based on where the need is across the entire county and the expertise of the particular consulting teacher.
And a lot of it, the first year is going to depend on the referral process and how many teachers are referred to the program. And we don't have a way of getting a read on that until we do it.
Okay, so if you reach your limit, if you are reaching out to, I can't remember the number of students, let's say you have 4 teachers that are teaching math and all 4 of those teachers reach their limit, but then you have other people that need assistance. What is your backup plan?
Well, we have the ability to service 225 clients with our 15 consulting teachers. And we feel that we will cover those that are struggling. If we have an issue where we don't have a content person that would work, there would still be a CT assigned, but we might work with consultants to help come in, that maybe the math department, to help support that consulting teacher. So we don't know what that looks like yet, because we haven't even got started to collect who the clients will be. But then we'll work with our other colleagues in other departments. We might work with our mentors through Doug's office, and to help us provide the supports that are needed. You're welcome.
Thank you. Ms. Epps.
Thank you. So I guess I would also like to extend my congratulations for such a groundbreaking partnership, when in every major newspaper and blogs and Education Weekly, and quite frankly in every periodical dealing with education, there's some testimony or manifesto about a teacher who's quitting the profession. And so I have to say that to the 15 consulting teachers, thank you. This isn't, I think what Dr. Kaufman said is absolutely right, in that this is the beginning of a movement that's long overdue to take back your profession and to restore the dignity of, quite frankly, a profession that has undergirded every single accomplishment in this country since the beginning of time. And so, having said that, I have a systemic question, which is, will the adoption and rollout of this particular program, and I think this might be to you, Dr. Maxwell, require changes either to any administrative procedures and or board policies, as you see it?
Bill can talk about the things that we've already done, but next on the agenda is signing a memorandum of understanding with the Teachers Association regarding that. Bill, do you want to talk about procedures?
Yeah, part of what we've talked about with the union is some of these changes really do require changes to contractual language, and because we don't open up that language for another 2 years or year, the MOU is necessary, because this is really having teachers observe teachers really needs a commitment from the union, and that's what the MOU really is about, is ensuring that we're not violating the contract by this program that the union is in agreement with, and so that's why we have the MOU.
So it'll serve as like a bridge until we get to the next
Yes.
contractual period?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
And
part of the MOU says that over the next few years, as the program grows, we shall seek language to add as part of the MOU to
awesome.
the negotiated agreement.
Great. As you talked about the different advisory boards and the different groups that are going to be, I guess, overseeing and making suggestions and participating and supporting this initiative, is there an opportunity, as you see it, for family and community to lend its support for what's happening as well?
Sure. I mean, we would be open to reaching out to our community, to our PTAs or our county PTA, to have some support in reference to the program, and we'd be glad to have them as part of our advisory board, which really oversees the program and give us some feedback from a parent's perspective. So we'd be happy to seek that participation.
Great. I think that would be, because I think the momentum for making or developing or becoming great by choice is really taking hold all over the county, and families are re-engaging in new and pretty exciting ways, and they're hungry for the opportunity. My colleague, Ms. Mundy, always talks about the hunger that she sees throughout the county for families wanting to be involved in the progress. And quite frankly, I think it would be a healthy opportunity for there to be an outlet for positive feedback as opposed to, you know, what we normally get. So, lastly, you know, 15 and, you know, a system this big, do you have enough?
No.
Okay.
That's why it's a rollout, and that's why he's said 16 or 17 times, you know, your generosity going forward to continue to fund this. You know, it was a
Notice phase 2 and 3 had TBD, and a lot of the hinges on.
That's why he called us something like brilliant and wonderful in the beginning of the.
I remember all those well-meant compliments that he
The
provided.
president is not averse to seeking grant funding either, so.
Wonderful. Okay, well, I'll just, you know, finish by saying aye.
Thank you, Ms. Epps. Ms. Eubanks.
I agree with everything that has been said by my colleagues, and most of my questions have been answered. But I want to say, next to being a parent or whatever your faith may be, there's nothing as important to our society as teachers. And I'm so glad and proud to be a part of a system that's taking that as important as it is. And I want to say thank you for the ones who thought it not robbery to get out of the classroom doing what you love, because you have to love this to want to actually look at other teachers do it. It has to be something that you love. But then you took it upon yourself that you're going to be able to just affect more children, you know. So I thank you. I thank you all for all the work you've done. Kudos.
All right, thank you. I see no other lights, so I think we're going to have to move on to this very controversial next step of deciding whether we approve of this or not. So, are you anything else for closing before we close out this discussion item? All right. Well, then we will close out that discussion item. And move. We got a couple of quick things. Let me just do. We'll go to 6.0. I'll do the first two and yield the floor to Dr. Maxwell for an introduction of items 6.1 through 6.2 under the consent agenda.
6.1 and 6.2 are for proclamations. The first commemorating the 150th anniversary of the Maryland Emancipation signing, Maryland Emancipation Day in Prince George's County, and the second designated October 23 to 31 as Red Ribbon Week in Prince George's County Public Schools.
All right, colleagues, may I have a motion to approve items 6.1 and 6.2?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed. That motion carries. I'll now yield the floor to Dr. Maxwell for an introduction of item 6.3 under the consent agenda.
So I'm proud, Dr. Eubanks and members of the board, to seek approval of the board of a memorandum of understanding for the Peer Assistance and Review Program in collaboration with PGCEA, our partners in educating children in Prince George's County, and would ask that this board approve on their consent agenda the approval of that memorandum of understanding so that we have the framework to move forward.
Colleagues, may I have a motion to approve item 6.3 under the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Do I hear a third? Did I hear a third? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? It seems to have carried. And colleagues, given that that we just did this, we want to commemorate this event. And I want to ask Dr. Maxwell, Mr. Haynes, and Mr. Robinson from PGCEA to come up and join me as we sign our memorandum of understanding between Prince George's County Educators Association and the Prince George's County Public Schools regarding the Peer Assistance and Review Program. us? All right. All right, colleagues, I'm gonna get in the budget consent agenda before we move back to the other discussion. So let me yield the floor to Dr. Maxwell for an introduction of items 7.1 through 7.7 under the budget consent agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Eubanks. Items 7.1 through 7.7 are on the agenda for the approval of the fiscal year 15 appropriation reassignments, a contract award for the Master Plan Support Project, change orders for work at Catherine T. Reed and Oxon Hill High School, an award for a construction contract for work at Bladensburg High School, a fee increase for architect and engineer services at Henry Ferguson Elementary School, and the fiscal year 15 non-resident tuition rates.
Colleagues, may I have a motion to approve items 7.1 through 7.7 under the budget consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. Yeah, we'll do that when we go around. That's it, right? Okay. All right. Seeing none, then it's been properly moved and seconded. And so, Ms. Jackson, will you please call the roll?
On the motion, Dr. Anderson?
Aye.
Ms. Epps?
Aye.
Ms. Eubanks? Aye. Ms. Jacobs? Dr. Kaufman? Ms. Mundy? Ms. Waller? Ms. Williams?
I would like to abstain from 7.4, but aye on all the rest.
Noted. Ms. Boston?
Aye.
Dr. Eubanks?
Aye.
9 ayes. Motion passed.
All right, the motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, are my very patient folks from my literacy team still here? Maybe they weren't so patient. Okay, they were patient. There you go. All right, let's get back to our discussion, and let's go back to that same level of enthusiasm that we had earlier. That perfect team is back. Folks may recall a while back we had a discussion about literacy, and we're back again to finish that discussion. I have on the speaking order Ms. Boston, Dr. Kaufman, myself, Ms. Waller, and Ms. Jacobs. Ms. Boston.
Hi. Couple of questions. I think it's on slide maybe 3 or 2. I'm not sure which one it is, but it's where you had the chart where you had a drop, decline. I got to pull it back up. It's been a while. Okay. Yeah. Where we, like in 2013, we had a real deep drop, like almost 7%, like this one. Yes.
Yeah. Slide number, I don't know what slide number.
Is that that's this one right here?
It's the kindergarten readiness, full school readiness.
Yeah. So we had is that drop due to the fact that, well, that's kindergarten, so that wasn't half a day program. So we had a real deep drop in 2013.
My guess is pre-kindergarten caused that, cuts in pre-kindergarten in the budget.
Okay, so you think it was because of the pre-K program being cut half a day that we saw that substantial drop?
That's my guess.
Yeah, but then we made a great gain in 2014. So do you know what that could have counted for, that big dip and then the dip going upside?
As Dr. Maxwell said, when we moved from full day to half day, and remember this is kindergarten readiness, so this is actually our pre-K students who are taking this assessment. So when we experienced the big drop, we had to take our teachers to a professional development because they were struggling with now how to get at those key critical skills in a half day. And so once we went through the professional development, showed them how to compact some of the learning, then we were able to make gains to get back on track.
So great. So you see that gain continuing based on the training that you've given
Yes,
staff
because
to be
we are continuing the training, and in fact, right now, we are preparing for a new kindergarten readiness assessment that has been aligned to Common Core that's rolling out with from MSDE. We are now in the process of certifying all of our kindergarten teachers to be able to administer that assessment.
Do you think the extension of our Head Start program that we did, I think last year, will also help with those numbers? Because I think we've increased our Head Start program. So do you think having those more of those programs will help with those scores maybe going up even higher?
Oh, absolutely, because, you know, Head Start serves students that are even at a lower poverty level than our pre-K students. So absolutely.
So one other question on slide 6. You mentioned something about parent workshops in our, for those schools that actually had the community, well, I call them liaisons. I know we have another name for them down, the COAs, in our Title I schools. What about our schools? What about having those, or how can you extend those workshops for our schools that are low performing in areas that do not have a COA or a Title I?
We also do parent workshops by invitation. One of the standing things we've done every year is work with the county PTA association to bring presentations to them that they can take back to their buildings. So that's how we are trying to service the schools that don't fall within those categories. And I think between the Title I schools and all the schools with a community liaison, that might be servicing over 100 of our elementary schools right now.
So the program that you do for the PTAs and the one that you're doing in our Title I schools, is it a different type of program, or is it the ones you're doing in Title I schools more of an extensive training?
No, it's the same program. It's talking to parents about how to help support their children with literacy. We talk about materials. Now, Title I also has the advantage of, you know, providing some materials to their parents. But our general message is how to support your child with reading, you know, how to support your child, you know, with writing, with numeracy. So that's a message we take to every group.
Okay. I would just like to make sure in the future that we try to do a little bit more for some of our other lower performing schools and that are not Title I based, other than just with the PTAs.
Okay, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kaufman.
So I have a couple questions. If you go to slide 6, the second grade spring SRI results, looking at the bar on the right, the 2014 bar that shows a 68.1% proficiency rate. I'm going to do something that's a little bit unfair. We had a previous presentation where we were also shown the data based on the ethnic group of students in the district, and the numbers, which I believe are for the same time frame, were for Asian American students 74%, white students 71%, African American students 67%, so just slightly below the average, and for Hispanic students it was 50%. And then when you also look at that compared to how our district does with Hispanic students relative to other districts or relative to the rest of the state of Maryland. There's still that gap for all the different groups, but for Hispanic students, it's even wider. So in other words, we're doing worse even compared to other districts in Maryland when it comes to addressing those needs at the second grade level for reading for Hispanic students. There's a similar story on the 9th grade non-retention rates. Hispanic students are the highest. So of course, not to say there's not issues with other groups, both ethnic groups and other groups of students, but can you talk just a little bit about the strategy specifically for addressing that population's needs when it comes to reading and literacy more broadly, because it seems like we have a particularly egregious problem with that group?
Well, one of the things we instituted last year was the support of our group of schools, which we had mentioned, our Fab 25. And among the Fab 25, we had our elementary schools that had a high Hispanic population. So we sent in a 3-man team into the school, one that could just address literacy for the general population, one that was an ESOL coach in addressing literacy, and then of course one coach that would address any of our students with special needs. So we looked at the strategies, we worked with the teachers in looking at our balanced literacy training. We provided that to all of our teachers because that also brings in using writing, using vocabulary, using any strategies to help our students achieve. In addition, our ESOL office has been partnering with different agencies to look at how we can bring in more strategies to our teachers. What we found is that we can't just rely on our ESOL teachers. The Gen Ed teacher has to also have enough strategies to help support our students. So that's a problem that we are continuing to work on and support.
I think it's important to also note that unlike some of our other assessments, the Scholastic Reading Inventory does not allow us to offer any accommodations to our students that may get that during the regular classroom or in other assessments. So for instance, if there's extra time, if they're having somebody possibly read portions of the test to them, if they have people scribe, this is a complete independent test. So I think that what we have learned as a district is that we do not utilize just one assessment to tell that story. So that could be a little skewed, just taking a look at performance of some of our student groups just using one assessment.
And that's a fair point. And certainly, as I said, certainly there's obviously needs of other groups, African American students and others, and special education students. But I think it's also clear that this district, well before this administration, the current administration came in place, has had there's a lot of needs of that particular students from that particular community. Obviously, we talked about the immigrant schools today, and we've talked in previous meetings in terms of obviously putting more bilingual liaisons in place. My second question was about the reading specialists going into the schools, because I know that's a really important strategy, and from what I can tell, it's been really effective. So I hope we continue thinking about across the board how we can help all students, but also particularly looking at those data points where we see a real gap like that, in terms of how we're addressing the students, taking into account that there are different measures for looking at that. Thank you.
All set, Dr. Kaufman? All set?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, I got a couple of quick points. One, I'm very excited about our focus on literacy. I do believe that this could be a game changer if we really, focus it and do it right. So a couple of kind of comments, really, more than questions. You might want to just reflect on them or even give me back a little feedback. The first is about the kind of data that we are gathering. And I like to, we got to gather data, assessment data, but I would love to see more data about what we're actually doing in several different areas. Some of them my colleagues have mentioned already, right? As we engage with parents and try to get literacy to begin in the home, that's huge. So if we have this Reading at 25 program, I want to know, what's our success rate in it? Are we getting students to read at 25 and 25 minutes a day, and at what rate we're able to do it? When they hit high school, are we getting students to read novels on a regular basis? My experience as a parent, not enough, right? So, but what's that data say about how much novel reading and high-level reading are we doing in high schools? Not just do we have a partnership with the library, but data about what that looks like. How many kids participate in the summer program? How many books do they check out? How long do they keep them? Are they the books that we're recommending? Are they other books? So that kind of data, I think, about what we're doing is going to be really important for us to really push our proactive literacy agenda. So that's the first point. The second point, and I don't mean this to be criticism, it's really not, it's just kind of feedback, and I think you guys are maybe already be heading with this in our strategic planning. But when I see the focus, the last two slides on the focus for 14-15, I see really good activities, but I don't see a plan, right? What are the specific goals that we're trying to accomplish? What I want to see is what we're going to do in literacy is we want to be, 5 points above the state average in this indicator in this amount of time. And so what are our real goals around literacy? How do we define those goals? I want to see them, goals for specific groups of students. If we know that our second language students are falling far behind in literacy, what are the goals that we have for these folks?
Dr. Eubanks, Dr. Joseph would like to answer that question for
Dr.
you.
Joseph,
we would be happy to bring a longer presentation to you on some of these topics as well.
Right, right. So, all right, then shoot, Dr. Joseph.
Sure, we have, and that is a great question, and it's a question we have been thinking deeply about over the summer and the beginning of the school year, and we have strategy teams that have come together, and just this past week on October 7th, they submitted those specific recommendations for targets and points in a number of areas that we're looking at, literacy being one of the primary areas. So as we roll out the actual strategic plan, you will see that with specific action plans and guidelines, because we recognize we won't get to the destination without a clear plan and clear targets.
Right. See, I knew that. I was just trying to set you up to be able to put that out there. All right. Thank you. That's all I have. Ms. Waller.
I think that the emphasis that we have on literacy and numeracy is just absolutely great, and I'm excited that we're going back to talking about reading. I think there for a while it was sort of there, but then it wasn't there, and our students were not engaged. Our parents, we lost a generation of parents that did not understand the value of reading. And so along those lines, and as I looked at the presentation, we talked about the partners with our parents or whatever. In my experience, and certainly I can speak in my district and even throughout the county, we have the various municipalities that some of them are doing a great job in working with our students with reading programs. They have reading programs in the summer. They're doing special things. I know that one of my municipalities has started an education committee. They revitalized it, I should say. And I think that would be an excellent place to start to work with them, the municipalities, because they're the heart of what's going on with our students and with our schools. And in regards to, because we don't have a lot of money in our school system, I think that, and when we think about our English language learners, I don't hear anything about us partnering with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. They have a lot of resources, and perhaps someone in the great system is reaching out to them, but I think we need to pull them to the table as one of our partners, and we need to hear from them. There are other, I guess I should say, ethnic organizations, and we need to hear from them, and we need to take our messaging to them to let them know what we're doing and how they can assist us, because as one of our speakers said tonight, they're there, and they are very interested in what their students are doing, and they bring a special expertise to the table. And I hope that we will look to them. You sort of hit on it a little bit, but what are some of your samples of your targeted supports in our lowest performing schools? Where are we with that? And I guess it goes back, I think Dr. Kaufman mentioned that, and Dr. Eubanks mentioned something around that also. But maybe it's Ms. Boston. Give us some examples of what you're doing in some of our lowest performing schools.
One of the things that was allowed by the budget for this year was the addition of 20 reading specialists that we could appoint to some of our lowest performing schools, because we found that a reading specialist in the school can pull groups, can help to train teachers in the reading strategies, and give more support to our struggling and our at-risk readers. So that's one of our initiatives, and then we continue to train teachers in our balanced literacy program so that we can build our readers from elementary before they hit our middle and high school programs.
And what are we doing? I feel that when our students are young, that's when they should begin their love of numeracy, as you're calling it, math. What are we doing to ensure that we're instilling a love of numbers and numeracy among our youngest students?
Well, even though we talk about numeracy, people think it's just about numbers, but it's also about reading as well. One of the things you'll find in mathematics is that our students have to first be able to read, to comprehend, to understand. We've introduced more manipulatives because we know, students learn with different modalities, and so we are trying to engage them in the learning. One of the things that we have pushed for a number of years is practical applications. You hear that term a lot about the classroom, using real-world examples. When you use examples that students can relate to and understand, then that gives them a reason and a purpose to study numeracy. Okay. And also, we've been pushing technology. Our students come technology ready. We just have to catch up to where they are in addressing their skills. Yeah.
Thank you. Ms. Jacobs.
Okay, mine will be quick, I hope. So when I think about, I was looking at the slide where, excuse me, the consistent college and career readiness measured by PSAT and also SRI. But my question is, and I hate to keep referencing this sort of state presentations, but, sitting in a meeting with people from the chamber across the state have consistently said that we don't know what you mean by career ready. And so my question would be, we have a board policy that says we believe that college and career readiness is the same thing. And I know what I believe that means, but I guess as part of the rollout of the theme or the acronym or whatever you're going to come up with, it might be a good idea to really say what we think that means. So part of it could be that, through our secondary school reform, which is still ongoing, but some of that is still, it's based on professions that require you to go to college. So we can't just say that we believe it's the same, but then don't provide the avenues for students to actually use that. So I'm thinking as we do this, we know that students can't be career ready and not know how to read. And we know that we're long past those days of what people used to think was, technology, career in tech. It's very different. They really are the same because it requires the same level of knowledge. So I'm just suggesting that we be very clear about what that looks like for a parent who may say, I think my kid should go down this track as opposed to another track.
And as we have developed our strategy teams, we have a strategy team that is looking at just that, defining what career ready is for the system specifically. So you'll see that in the coming strategic plan.
Dr. Anderson.
Yes, Ms. Waller addressed one point that I wanted to make. The other is, how do you clarify the math literacy to everybody, to the public, to parents, to the community? If the reading literacy, one of the supports for reading literacy is 25 minutes a day reading, is there some way you can concretize, if that's what it is? I'm not sure that is what it is, but can you concretize what it means to get this literacy in math?
So I think this is the Unless I misunderstand what you're asking, there are 2 more presentations on academic achievement coming forward, and one of the next ones is focused on math and numeracy. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, but we're talking about literacy here, and it's still not clear, and I think it has to be clear not only to the schools, but to the community. What do you mean? And I think when it's made clear, we can all support the schools in that area.
And I think we've tried to provide that clarity through the definition that we put out. If we can go back to the slide with the definition on it, at least for what it is we mean, because as we've moved to the Common Core, we're talking more about not just reading for pleasure, but specifically getting kids reading more expository texts that are much denser, much more difficult to read, much more technical. We're talking about how do we help kids report, evaluate, comprehend, gather, synthesize ideas.
Yeah,
we're
those stages
talking,
of learning.
right.
Mm-hmm. And if we can,
So that's our definition.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
we've made sure every school has this. We're getting it out to all teachers, and we're as we put things out, we're constantly being very specific and explicit about what we mean to try to get it out. But it's going to take a marketing campaign to really
And some clarity, some way to reach the community on it. We can read the literacy part, use numbers to process information, solve problems, and interpret data. What does that mean to the average person in
And that's
public?
it.
But if there can be a way to make it clear what everybody can do,
And
then
as-
the public will be in a better position to support the schools.
Yes, and as we've talked with our new Family and Community Engagement Office, that is one of their big charges, to help bring it out to the community in a way that the community can really understand what it means. So we know we have to show in multiple ways to help them really understand it and be able to support their children with it.
Yeah, that's great. And just one more on the reasoning piece, developing these reasoning skills. And we could do it through the literacy program, and not only in the math area, but certainly in reading too. But a focus there, and how do we do it? It becomes a part of the challenge.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson. Ms. Epps?
Thank you. Actually, Dr. Anderson, I want to provide a scenario to go with your question. So here's the report from higher education. Today I met with a student who is struggling. In fact, it's, October 9th? Yeah, so midterms are next week. And so now we're seeing a lot of students in academic advising who have been struggling pretty much over the last, since the beginning of the semester, quite frankly. And it's now coming to a head. They're making decisions about whether or not to drop. So part of the process of having a conversation with the student is asking that student, I basically drill down. Did you read your syllabus? Are you referring to it often? Are you meeting the objectives as they've been outlined in the syllabus? So if the student says, yes, I have my syllabus, I look at it. And then I ask them, are you reading your textbook? Yes, I'm reading my textbook. Are you reading your textbook, or are you just looking at the words? Yes, I'm reading my textbook. Okay. How much time after you've read your textbook do you spend studying? Because a lot of students think that reading and studying are the same thing. And what I'm finding more and more is that students don't know how to study the material after the initial instruction, and sometimes even after supplemental instruction. And so I think when we're talking about literacy and rolling out, the Common Core skills around numeracy, particularly. So one of the things that we know about math is the way you learn math is you have to keep doing math. And so, and in terms of doing those equations over and over and over again until you understand the process. So I think that that's what we just want you to take away. And I wanted to give that to you because that's what I'm seeing in higher ed, and that's one of the disconnects between K through 12 and higher education.
Thank you for the suggestion. And I will say that to go back to the Scholastic Reading Inventory, we made the point earlier that it's a comprehension test, whereas the PSAT is a college and career ready assessment. So for students to perform well there, they have to know how to break down a text into its constituent parts, analysis, see the relationship of part to whole, and then do some level of synthesis. So as we're using the data-wise process and we begin working with teacher teams and analyzing what skills do students need assistance with, we can then be very clear about where we want to develop our students and then provide the requisite professional development to teachers to help them teach those exact reasoning skills and then see evidence for it in the student products.
I see that. I guess the other thing, and that I just want to make sure that we're also making the point with students and to students and for students, the distinction between what takes place in the classroom, which is the process that you described, that gets them ready for that type of assessment, like the PSAT, but then their part outside, because one of the main differences is that when they're done with K-12 and they're in higher education, that the majority of the learning does take place independently. So I guess I'm envisioning where a student graduates from the system and they start their first year of college, and we all kind of know about that first semester, so that they feel comfortable in their process, and that they can scale that process up from 12th grade to what's expected at the higher education level.
Okay, thank you. All right, colleagues, no more comments or questions at this time. So let's give a second round of applause for our literacy folks. Again, plenty more work to do, and we really thank you for the commitment and dedication you've put forth up to this point. All right, colleagues, a couple of more agenda items. We're going to 9.0 under governance unfinished business, second readers, and I'll yield the floor to Dr. Maxwell for an introduction of item 9.1.
Thank you, Dr. Eubanks. This comprehensive maintenance plan for Prince George's County Public Schools provides a strategic overview of building services. Building services is comprised of two departments, the Department of Maintenance and the Department of Plant Operations. The comprehensive maintenance plan provides an overview of procedures, schedules, and projects by schools focused on providing the best learning environment through safe and healthy conditions for all of our students. It demonstrates the capability of the Facilities Department to maintain the building systems and equipment provided via funding from the state. What is before you this evening for approval in a format dictated by the state is required to be submitted to the IAC by October 15th. We ask for your approval.
Thank you, Dr. Maxwell. Now that that has been introduced, may I please have a motion to approve item 9.1 under governance unfinished business? Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Jackson, will you please call the roll?
On the motion, Dr. Anderson? Ms. Epps?
Aye.
Ms. Eubanks? Ms. Jacobs?
Aye.
Dr. Kaufman? Ms. Mundy? Ms. Waller?
Aye.
Ms. Williams?
Aye.
Ms. Boston?
Aye.
Dr. Eubanks?
Aye.
Motion carries.
How many? It's 8, right?
8.
All right, making sure. Yeah, thank you. That motion carries. Colleagues, item 10.0, now I yield the floor to Dr. Maxwell for an introduction of item 10.1 under new business, first reader.
Thank you, Dr. Eubanks. Item 10.1 is on the agenda as a first reader requiring no discussion. It is for the final operating budget transfer for fiscal year 2014.
Thank you, colleagues. We've now at the point of accepting item 10.1 under new business. May I have a motion to accept item 10.1?
So moved.
It has been moved and seconded. No discussion is necessary, and I see none desired. So we will please ask that all those in favor please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? That motion carries. We have follow-up items from the September 11, 2014 System Oversight Meeting has been placed in board docs. Colleagues, may I have a motion to confirm actions taken in executive session today, Thursday, October 9th, 2014.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded that the Board of Education hereby approves actions taken in executive session on October 9, 2014, and are as follows: personnel appointments, administrative matters. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed? All right, and one abstention. So that motion does carry. Well, colleagues, we started at 5. It doesn't mean we should stay till 9 when we start 2 hours early, but I thank those who have stuck around. And also, while I'm on the mic, I want to thank our colleagues. Some folks may or may not have noticed the board's valiant attempt to go paperless. And to really kind of respect the environment and use our computers and use board docs efficiently. It's not easy at times, kind of bouncing back and forth through the computer, but I thank my colleagues for helping to work that out. And at that, I have Ms. Jacobs.
This is really quick, and I would
Absolutely.
I would also ask that we ditch the styrofoam as much as possible if we can, to be in line with our environmental
Absolutely.
literacy
The move
process.
to ditch the styrofoam cups is well noted, Ms. Jacobs. Environmentalist of the Year award coming up for you. All right. All right. Colleagues, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned. Have a great evening.